Hey guys, Jamiy today on Roblox. We're playing some more Loomian, like I said, as you can see on the screen right now. And so also, early today we did a video going over like how to get all of the new Loomians, and actually the no stats question for that video is what are the stats for all of the Loomians, and like also I'll go over like some of the moves as well. So that's what we're going to be doing in this video. So also, if you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, helps out the channel immensely, okay? So anyway, let's just jump straight into it. So I'm going to go over every single Loomian's stats, and also I'll throw out what the abilities do and which one also, like, hey, this is like kind of like the role for this Loomian, and also give you like a couple of the moves. I don't want to like go over everything, but I'll tell you like at least like the best moves that it probably learns and I would probably recommend. So anyway, I'm going over it then. The stats for Garbantis, which also is the first Loomian. I'm just going to go in this order as you can see in my PC box, and we're only going to go over the final evolutions, because also that's what most people are going to be using. Yes, there is like a new item that is like an Eviolite and Everstone like mixed together, but I don't really know if like any of these new evolutions like really want to use it. So if there are, I'll probably do like a separate video on when I actually do it for PvP. So anyway, when over Garbantis, as you can tell, it is very quick. Actually it has the same speed stat as Tatab, so Tatab might have to be forced to actually run nimble rather than like a very brawny, for example. And then also, as you can tell, the defense is the second highest stat, and then also the rest of them kind of like average across the board. Like also it has got some melee attack, but mostly it's going to be using the melee defense, which actually goes pretty well with the signature move, which is Battering Ram, which also uses your arm to slam into the foe. Damage is based on your melee defense rather than your attack. So the higher your defense is, the higher your attack is. So I can see people definitely like running like maxed out speed and then probably like a maxed out defense instead of the attack. Eventually it will get something like kind of similar to like an iron defense, I guess, which basically means that it's going to get more defense and it's going to like a sword dance at the same time. So eventually get something like that. I think right now it actually gets Burrow, which only gives you like +1 defense, melee defense. So I mean, you could run that if you really wanted to. All in that low, it's got Parasitize, which also I guess is fine for like getting health, but Battering Ram is mostly like your damaging move. You have the Clay Slap, which if you use it, the opponent's speed will be lowered by 1 stage. It's not like super hard, it's not going to hit super hard, but also it is a ground type or earth type and bug type as well. Then also it has a Battering Ram, like I mentioned, and then also I guess like the last move you could run is like maybe Provoke, which also prevents the opponents from using any support moves, or you could actually just run Burrow just to like boost your Battering Ram damage, I guess, and your melee defense, so you're a little bit more tanky. So that's probably it. Also, it can't really take a hit too well on the range side. Its range defenses are just complete garbage. The energy is fine, the melee attack is alright, but mostly going to be using a Battering Ram, so not really going to be like super scary, but it's going to like potentially like scare Tatabs potentially. Other than that, time for the abilities then, which also there are quite a few abilities that we haven't seen before, which is, the first one is Trash Armor, which just boosts your melee defense by 50%. So if you are going to be using Battering Ram, you might want that defense, because also it's going to hugely buff the Battering Ram. That's the only move it's going to really buff, so it's kind of up to you if you want to use that. Next up here then is Slimy, which as you can tell, when the opponent makes a contact with the Loomian, its speed is lowered, which I mean, hey, the melee defense is like the second highest that it has, so I mean, it could potentially take a hit, but you don't really probably want to, since it's still not really the greatest, unless like you potentially set it up, so probably don't really want to go for Slimy. And the last one is going to be Sharp Claws, which also your contact moves are boosted by 30%, so not just Battering Ram, would be like Venom Chomp, Parasitize, Bug, well, also not going to use Bug Bite, but still, like all of those moves. But again, I think that the best ability is going to be your Trash Hammer, so I'd probably just recommend that one. So that's basically it for Garbantis. Let's go into the next one. Okay, then next up is going to be Munchweel, which also is Chompactor's evolution. For this one, it is very, very bulky. As you can tell, like the health is like pretty good, the melee defense is the highest stat, and also the range defense isn't like terrible, like it's a little bit better than average, I guess. All in that, the melee attack is usable. I mean, it's like the exact same as the Garbantis as a defense, and then the speed is like kind of meh, but it's actually going to be really, really good with the abilities, because it actually has Rev Up. I'm probably going to assume that Rev Up will be the most used ability on Munchweel. I mean, it's bulky, it can like land a pretty good hit on like, especially like super effective hits. I mean, it's just like a good ability to have, because also then it becomes really quick as well, so probably going to be using Rev Up. The other abilities over there it gets is Salvage, which basically is kind of like similar to Pickup, it just picks up all the Loomian's items in the battle. I don't remember like if it's only ones that are being knocked off, so like slapdowns. So let's say for example you're against a Sea Knight, it has like a health amulet, you slap it down. I'm guessing Munchweel has like the ability to pick that up if it hasn't got an item on itself. Probably not really going to use it. And then the fight, well, it's not as like amazing for PvP, probably rev up is way better obviously, and the secret ability is kind of like a gimmick. It is called specialization. So basically how this one works, and by the way, most people actually have found the secret abilities now, so feel free to do like a lot of videos on them, I guess, because some of them are like pretty good obviously. So anyway, specialization, the fewer moves this Loomian has or knows, the more powerful they are. So for example, you can actually go to the Battle Coliseum and there's an NPC, or well, there's 3 NPCs. There's, well, I guess there's actually 4. One room's like for the rally, one room's for the shop, one room's for the move relearner, and the one next to the move relearner is the move deleter. If you go to that character, I can't remember if it's a he or a she, basically you can delete moves. So if, let's say I delete Chomp from my arsenal of moves. Now all of these 3 moves, if they are a damage dealing, which also 2 of them aren't, I'm going to get a 25% of a boost on all of them. So basically I'm getting like a Nuller stab bonus, which is like Awakening Glen. Then if I take a Nuller one off and I want to have 2 moves, they both get a 50% boost. So now it actually is like a really good, it's like basically like not brute force, it's like the Chomp one, Power Jaw ability, so that's pretty good, but you only have 2 moves, so do you want to do that? And for the final one, you can actually remove all 3 of them and only have 1 move. That's going to give you actually a 100% boost, so it's going to do like double the damage, which also is pretty good, is like really good, but very like situational, because like you only have 1 move. What are you going to give it? Probably a metal move. There's a lot of types that actually resist metal right now, like also waters, we got fires as well, which fires are still everywhere, especially Kazune, so yeah, not really too sure if you're going to really use it, but it's kind of like gimmicky, kind of like memeist, but probably rev up is your best bet. And now for the moves then, so it's not really going to get a lot. You can actually tell that a lot of these new Loomians don't actually like get a lot in terms of like variety. They're mostly like just going to be using the same, but for Chompactor and Munchweel, I'm probably going to assume that it's going to be running Mega Chomp. It has Heavy Bass, which is a 70 base power, just damaging move. You do have Double Whack, which as you can tell here is a 35 strength move, but it hits twice. So that one could potentially like be used over Heavy Bash if wanted to. And then for the secret, secret moves, or like the rally moves, they're all like the other Chomp moves, like Thunder Chomp, Blaze Chomp, or Chili Chomp. So I'm assuming that people are probably going to run like Mega Chomp, Double Whack, or Heavy Bash, and then probably 2 of the other Chomp moves, like Thunder Chomp will let it hit water types, but also then Mega Chomp can hit Luminami anyway, so it would mostly be used for the Ventation, I guess, instead. You have Blaze Chomp if you want to hit plant types, although Mega Chomp already does that, so you could potentially just run Chili Chomplin for bug types. Yeah, for bug types like Florent, I guess, so kind of weird. You could also run Dodge, I guess, so then you can guarantee yourself to get a rev up boost, so that could potentially be an idea as well, like maybe Mega Chomp, Double Whack, or Heavy Bash. Then also one of the other Chomp moves, like Chili Chomp or Thunder Chomp, and then Dodge, I guess, is also fine. Again, nothing really like is going to get anything super amazing. I wanted to hold back a little bit and not like give everything every single move that it would get right now. We'll also do it like later in the updates, like, hey, here's a couple more moves for it. So yeah, that is it for Munchweel then. Okay then, next up is going to be Hunderlin, which also is the evolution of Pootroll. For this one, its stats are very, very quick. Not as quick as Zulong, but it's still like really, really quick. Also is the Robo Dog, which is kind of cool. The only like other stat really like worth looking at is like the melee attack. The rest of the stats are like kind of like mad average really. Like the range defense sucks, the melee defense is like alright, but compared to like the health, it's not exactly the highest thing in the game. It's mostly going to be like using attack and melee attack and speed, so yeah, I mean, it's not really going to hit super hard, but hey, it can like deal damage to like things that it can hit super effective, for example. For the abilities, it has Brute Force and Power Jaw. Brute Force, as you can see here, removes the secondary effects of your moves to deal pure increased damage. So for example, Heavy Bash just does damage, there's no secondary effects like to flinch, to paralyze, something like that. So this one doesn't get a boost. Whereas something like Thunder Strike, I'm actually trying to think what moves it actually gets. I don't think it really gets that many moves right now that it's going to want to use Brute Force, but eventually later on in the game it will get some more. I think Mega Chomp, and like, I think it also gets a couple of the chomping moves. Yeah, Thunder Chomp, Blaze Chomp, and Chili Chomp, those will all get a chance, an increase as well from Brute Force. Although the Power Jaws are actually going to be better for those ones. So basically, if like, for example, we have Thunder Strike, it has a 10% chance to paralyze, it gets rid of that chance to paralyze, and it'll do more damage, which also is good. Then the secret ability is Power Jaw, which also deals 50% more damage if you're using chomping moves, which is why this move right now is probably not as like the greatest thing right now, since it's not really going to get a lot of options. But basically, it'll increase Mega Chomp, because it's a chomping move. Normal Chomp, obviously, then it'll increase your Thunder Chomp, your Blaze Chomp, and your Chili Chomp. So I have a feeling that people are probably going to use this with Mega Chomp, probably Heavy Bash, just for stab, since that's like the best stab move it's going to get, really. It is an electric type blow, so you probably want to run Thunder Chomp on this one. Because the signature move actually is a Brawler type. The reason why it's actually Brawler type is originally it was actually going to be a Brawler type, and I kind of wanted to keep it because it's like a pretty cool like move, which I'll get onto later. So for the moveset, it gets Mega Chomp if you're running the secret ability, which, like I said, with the secret ability gets a 50% bonus. Really, really good. So like Mega Chomp, Thunder Chomp for like a damage, because like I said, it is a melee attacker, not a range attacker. So Thunder Chomp. You could run Blaze Chomp or Chili Chomp for the plant types and the bug types. Probably would recommend Chili Chomp. And then for the last move, Rough Up is really, really cool in my opinion. Like, oh, it does 70 damage and also it works, makes sense because it's a dog. The move's strength is boosted, I think it's like by 1.5 times, so it becomes like a 105 base power move. So it does that, but only if the opponent is shorter than you. But unfortunately, 100 is one of the shortest. Is one of the where is it? Is one of the shortest Loomians for height, for like fully evolved. And for like, if we look at like everything else in this specific update, everything is taller than it. So I mean, yeah, it's got a brawling move, I guess, that can hit all of the other metal super effectively, but it's not going to get super boosted, so I guess you can still use it. It's just not like going to get a huge boost. And if you find something like, example, someone using a pro pair, you get to whack it super hard, I guess. So that's like a little bit of a downside potentially. But other than that, though, you have as your shelf Sharpen, which also can boost your melee attack and your accuracy. So probably for this one, I can see people using Mega Chomp and Thunder Strike, Chili Chomplin for like just to get rid of like plant types and stuff like that, and probably like Sharpen. Again, you could run Rough Up, but I don't really know if it's really worth it right now. But that is it for 100. On to the next one now. Okay then, next up is going to be Dyeborg. So for its stats, it is average across the board. That's like the best way to explain it. It's kind of like Luminami, but also instead of like the 105 health that Luminami actually has, all of its stats like mad average. As you can tell, it's like it can be a tank on both of its defenses, and its health is like pretty decent at least. Its melee attack and range attack are like still pretty decent, so like use both of them. And the speed is like isn't anything slow. It can still outspeed quite a lot of the other tanks, which is also pretty damn good in this metagame. The typing for it is Metal Toxic, in case you weren't sure. For this one though, I guess we'll go over the abilities first. If you have Dyeborg, it gets immunitized, which also is this one. Immunized, which basically means that it can get poisoned, but it can't really get poisoned anyway because it's a toxic type. It can get paralyzed and stuff like that, so that's why it has that one. If you have a Tarite that has confidence, when you evolve it, it'll be tank. Basically what tank does is that the first, like, when you bring Dyeborg into the battle, the first move it gets hit by, it is reduced by like 50% like damage, so it'll tank it 50% better than it would before. So it only works for the first move low on entering the battle. So for example, if I start a battle and Dyeborg is my first Loomian, it's going to take the hit way better than like it would naturally, like the second hit. And then if I swap it out and then back in, tank will be able to like tank another hit. You could run tank like for a lot of like moves, but its tanky like its bulkiness like is decent. So I mean, don't know if you're really going to use that one, although for the secret ability it's actually called Handy. So it's like similar to Pokemon's Prankster, so it's going to give priority to support moves, which also this actually gets quite a few support moves, which is also going to be pretty good and might be a little bit annoying for a while. So anyway, for the moves then that I would probably recommend we have is Graffiti. As you can tell here, is just a spray toxic paint all over the opponents. This may poison them, just like a strong, or I guess like a medium strong poison move. I'm not too sure if you're really going to use it that much. We have Heavy Bash, again, just like a medium like power, like, oh, I'm going to deal damage to you. Then we have Hypnotize and Poison. So Hypnotize is from the MMs obviously, and Poison is a rally move, so you could get basically handy poisons or handy hypnotizers. Although eventually, like, we are gonna do another balance change, like hopefully in a couple of weeks, and Hypnotize isn't gonna work on my types anymore, so this thing might want to be careful about also Sorcery and stuff like that. Since I mean, I guess it has Heavy Bash, so it can like deal with them, but so for some of them, like for example, Duskit, might not really want to stay in. Although in that low, it gets stuff like Power Focus, as you can see. It gets Canister Burst, which really quickly, if I look up because I don't remember what that one does. That one just like launches 2 to 3 paint canisters of the opponent. It can hit for 20. Well, it can hit. It's a 25 base power move that it can hit 2 or 3 times. So it can do 50 or 75. So probably just gonna want to use Graffiti, I guess, unless you want to like risk the free chances. And other than that one, it actually gets a new move called Paint Shower, which I think something else will eventually get it, but right now, like, only this thing has it, which basically how this move works, if I actually quickly pull it up, just, like, make sure you guys understand. So for Paint Shower, it will coat the battlefield in a harmful substance that damages Loomian slowly for 5 turns. So I believe it does, like, 1/16 every turn, or maybe 1/8. I think it's every 1/16 flow. So basically, you put it up, Dyeborg can swap out the battle, and toxic types are immune to this. So let's say, for example, I use it, and I have the bug on the field, which also isn't a poison type. For 5 turns, as long as it's on the field, it's going to take 1/16 of its health for 5 turns, which also is pretty good. Pretty good in doubles as well, just watch out for your teammate, obviously, but that move I can see being like pretty useful, since also, like I said, it can take quite a couple of hits, and really, like, there isn't exactly like that many moves. I guess like Graffiti, it doesn't really get a good range metal move right now, so it's kind of like Valkyrie Syndrome, no good range metal move if you want to run like a range set. It doesn't have like a good melee toxic move yet, so right now it's probably going to be used like as a mixed attacker, or might not really be used at all, but I think it'll have like some usage. And also that Paint Shower move is a support move, so it does work for handy. So I mean, it's going to be kind of annoying to like deal with, I guess, so you might just want to run like Poison on it with Paint Shower, and then maybe like Graffiti and Heavy Bash on it. Like, there's nothing really like amazing you can do right now with it, but it'll be like kind of annoying. So that's basically for Dyeborg. Okay, then the next one's going to be Gardrone. For this one, for like the moves, you actually can see them all as soon as you get Gardrone, so I'm not going to go too much into detail on them. So, but anyway, for the stats, as you can tell, hits very hard, kind of like similar to Muchun's Power of Strength, which also is actually going to be really good for this one, because it's just not a pure, typeless Loomian. The range defense is very good as well, so it can definitely like pass off like, oh, you're a range attacker, don't worry about it, I'm going to eat that up really easily. The melee defense on the other hand though, not exactly that amazing. Like, yeah, it can take a hit from like something specifically, but it's also for like Borok. Probably doesn't want to be in against a Borok. The speed stat is like 61. It's like not amazing, but it can outspeed like something like a Himber, for example. So this one is definitely going to be very scary, mostly because of the different moves it gets. I'm going to talk about a couple of them that I think people are going to definitely want to run. Also, you can look at the rest of them yourself if you really want to, because like I said, you get the entire list so you can see them all straight away as soon as you get Gardrone. So for the abilities then, I guess we'll talk about first, is going to be Communication and Clutch. Those are the only 2 abilities. Clutch is the secret ability, so the reason why I didn't give it like a really good ability is because this one is already like really good, so I didn't want to make it even better. Originally, this was actually going to be like a metal or electric type. We chose to just go for metal since it also has all of the elemental types, so that's the reason why I wanted to give it Communication. So also then, if it gets hit by Earthquake from its teammate, that would suck, so Communication will let it bypass all of like the Earthquake spamming in doubles, which also be really good, but now it's like quad weak to metal, but still like an okay ability. And then the secret ability is Clutch, which also is probably the way better one for singles, since Communication doesn't work in singles. But basically, if you're in full health, you get one shot by like Borok's Earthquake, you'll live on just 1 health. So I mean, decent for the moves though. it gets quite a lot of different moves. Like I said, you can basically go to the upgrade station in the Pollute Corp area, and it'll give you a list of all the moves. You can click on them, it'll tell you what they do. But the 4 moves that like you're gonna see a lot of people run: Metal Blast, which is the high range attack metal move, which by the way, Valkyrie can rally that one really good. So you actually got a range attack now. But yeah, Metal Blast hits really hard. Thunder Strike, also electric move, hits very hard. Originally it was going to be an electric type. It's not going to get stabbed from that one anymore though. It gets Fire Breath and Frost Beam, which is basically like Ice Beam, for example. So it gets access to all 3 of those different elementals. So, oh, it's a metal type, it can't hit water. Never mind, it's got Thunder Strike. Oh, it's a metal type, it can't hit metal types. It's got Fire Breath and Thunder Strike. It can hit plant types, it can hit air types with ice or electric. Like, it's gonna be very, very, very good because it can basically hit everything. Oh, it's weak to earth? Nah, it's got Frost Beam. What else is it weak to? Oh, it's weak to Brawler. I actually can't do anything about that one, to be honest. So that one's fine, I guess. What's another weakness? Electric. I mean, it depends like what electric Loomies you're fighting against, I guess. Like Zulong is ancient, so you can just whack it with a Metal Blast and it's going to hit it still hard. And it probably will take actually a hit from Zulong. So again, I don't want to go too in depth on this one since you actually get the list of moves like straight away once you actually unlock this one yourself. So you can take a look at all the little moves because they explain it best by clicking on them. So very good. Also kind of annoying to get the moves since you have to like KO a lot of Scorbs in the wild. So definitely would recommend keeping a stock up on those items. So yeah, but basically that's it for Gardrone. I'm dumb. Anyway, next up is going to be my favourite Loomian in this update. Okay then, so for this one, like I said, my favourite Loomian in this update. Let me know your favourite Loomian in the updates down in the comments down below, okay? But I mean, this one's so cool. Again, if you don't know who made it, Blue Fire Mochi did. Very, very cool. She also actually made the bug, which I still like as well. So anyway, for the stats, as you can tell, it is kind of similar to Gardrone, although it is way quicker, like 20 base stat quicker. So the range defense, the range defense isn't as high as Gardrone, but its health is actually higher, so it probably is going to like be about the same equal of range defense, or maybe a little bit higher with the health being factored in. It can't hit as hard as it, which also is fine, and also the melee defense is similar. I think actually it's a little bit better since also the health. Melee attack completely sucks, energy is decent, and the speed is like about the same as like Eliguana's. It's actually 1 stage higher than Eliguana, or 1 point higher than Eliguana. So if you're fighting against Eliguanas, you might need a little bit more speed on it. Just make sure that it doesn't get outsped by it and get Thunder Strike, because the thing is a metal air type. Its only weaknesses are fire type and electric right now. I'm not going to explain why it's going to be weak to earth later on. You'll see whenever we do the balance changes. So unfortunately it's going to get another weakness probably. For the abilities, it gets Clutch as a normal ability. Again, it's like the exact same as Gardrone. If it's on full health, it gets hit by an electric type move. Oh, Zulong just hit it with Thunder Strike. It's going to live on 1 health as long as it hasn't lost any health prior to that. It gets Frail Armor. When struck by a melee attack, this Loomian loses melee defense and gains speed. I think actually it's called Weak Armor in Pokemon, so it works very similar to that. So if you get hit by a melee move, your melee defense is going to lower, so you're going to get hit harder, but your speed gets increased, which I can definitely see people using this one. I can actually see people using all of the abilities, to be honest, on different sets. The final one, which is the secret ability, is called Toxic Filter. For this one, it's like a Lightning Rod move, a Lightning Rod ability, but not for electric type moves, for poison moves. Because also the lore for this one is that it is placed in the city to like absorb the toxic area and to filter it out, so it's a toxic filter. Makes a lot of sense. So basically it does that, but instead of like just boosting your range attack and stuff like that, or like Prismatic, which is the secret ability for I think that's the name for it for the Eliguana, it's like the exact same but for light type moves, although it only increases light type. For this one, it will absorb toxic type moves, and the only next turn, if it uses, or the next air type move it uses, as long as it doesn't swap out, will be increased by 50%, I believe. So Airblade won't do 70, it'll do 105. Only for 1 turn though, because also I don't really like want to make it like a complete copy and paste, but still it's going to be pretty good anyway, because also it can hit pretty hard anyway, and it can tank pretty well. Just watch out for the weaknesses, obviously. So that's basically for that. For the moves then, it's actually got quite a couple of interesting moves. It gets access to Gust, in case you're also wondering, so you can get rid of traps as well if you really need something to get rid of traps, which I don't know if this is the best idea for it. But you get Reflection Burst, which also is here. If you already have been hit by an opponent's move this turn, your move strength is doubled. So let's say, for example, Tatab hits you with Jungle Jutsu, you take it, also with Frail Armor, so now next turn you're going to outspeed it, potentially, and also that specific turn you're going to deal 120 damage to it rather than just your normal 60 damage strength, so pretty decent. Also, it's going to be really good on like slower Loomians. Stratosaur's like, it's kind of quick, but also there's quite a lot of quicker Loomians, so gotta be careful with that one. It gets access to Airblade, which again is like just a medium power air type move. It gets access to Heavy Bash, not really going to use that one. Cyclone Slam, probably not going to use that one. Metal Shriek, which actually lowers both of the opponent's defenses by one stage, could potentially want to use that one. Like I said, Gust already. And other than that, it actually gets 2 rally moves. It gets Perch and Metal Blast, which are probably going to be the moves that it's probably going to want to run, and Second Wind, which actually is the signature move. So I guess for Perch, it just heals itself. Metal Blast just deals more damage, and like I said, you can choose between Reflection Burst or Metal Blast, but if you're going against all the tanks that are quicker than it, Metal Blast is your better option. And then for the Second Wind, as you can tell, if your energy is below 10 points, so for example, if you, like, oh, I can use 5 Reflection Bursts, well actually I can use 4, and then I'm like 33 energy behind, so then I also gotta waste like, I gotta like, use Gust twice then, and once I'm below 10, I can use this move, and it will completely restore your energy, so it's like you're clicking rest, but better, and you don't lose defenses, so it's very, very good. I can definitely see everyone wanting to run this one, because also if you're out of energy, you don't have to sacrifice your defenses to give it a boost, you get all of your energy back, so definitely very good. So I can definitely see people running Metal Blast or Reflection Burst, Second Wind. All on that, I guess it could run Air Blades and maybe Metal Shriek or like Gusts. Right now there's not really like a 4th move slot, which is gonna like kind of hurt it, I guess, and for like a short time until it gets more moves. So for now though, that's kind of it, but I still really, really love this Loomian. And next up lane is going to be like the Obsidian of this update, which is Tyrecks. Okay, so I'll be back in a second. Okay, then next up is going to be Tyrecks, then, which also, if you don't know, is a metal earth type. Going to be pretty damn good, since also it can hit all of the other metal types in this update, which is very good. So anyway, for this one, very similar to like Munchweel's stats, which as you can tell, pretty good defense. It's not as high as Munchweel's, I'm pretty sure, but it deals more damage than Munchweel by like 20 points. Also, the range defense is decent. The speed is actually way quicker than Munchweel, but again, Munchweel has rev up, so again, but really, really good Loomian. Kind of like similar to like Obsidian, I guess, in some ways, but also like it's going to deal a lot more output damage rather than just being a bulky Loomian. It can be both. It can be bulky and can hit hard. Just don't use it against like a fire type Loomian, obviously. Well, I guess it's an earth type, so you could potentially do that, but probably don't want to, since every fire type is basically a range attacker, except from Serenite, which also Serenite does not want to come out against this thing, so it can just Earthquake spam it, I guess. So anyway, those are the stats. Funny enough, its melee attack is actually 1 stat higher than Borok, so if you really want to, you could actually just give it a very brawny, max out the melee attack, so when a Borok comes out against it, Borok actually going to lose to it, because it's going to lose at the boast, which will put it at -1, and one of its abilities is Terrifying, which is like Intimidate, so it'll basically put Bork to -2. I can definitely see myself using that specific like niche. I don't know how good it's going to be, but I definitely want to try it. So yeah, so also Terrifying can work, which lowers their melee attack. For the other abilities, it gets access to Power Jaw, which is an other normal ability, which I don't think it really gets that many chomping moves right now, unfortunately. I'm just quickly having a look. Yeah, I don't think it actually gets any. Yeah, it doesn't get any chomp moves yet, except from just chomp. It'll eventually get like a mega chomp or something like that, so yeah, for right now though, doesn't actually want to use power chomp or power jaw right now. The secret ability is staunch, same as Himber's. Its stats can be lowered, and that's kind of it for right now. So like if another Tyrecks comes out on you, you're not going to lose your melee attack, for example. Right now, probably not really going to use Staunch, probably going to just want to use Terrifying for right now. Power Job might be an option later down the line if you want to like do a super offensive like Mega Chomp one, which would actually be pretty good. Staunch right now, it will get buffed sooner or later with the next balance changes, which also I'll go over that whenever that is out. And then for the Munchweel, so right now it can get Earthquake by rallying, so it's like your mostly like damaging move is going to be Earthquake. It does get access to Mudspell, but I don't think you're really going to run it since its range attack isn't exactly the highest, so probably don't really want to run that. You get Complete Demolition, so when you actually get Tyrecks, it only gets one move, which is Complete Demolition, which is the signature move. It's basically kind of like a Hyper Beam sort of move, like, oh, you hit it super hard, or the next turn you actually can't do anything and you can't swap out, you gotta wait there and like take a hit, which I guess isn't the worst thing, because defenses aren't exactly the weakest thing, so a pretty good move actually. I can see some people potentially using this one. It gets access to Heavy Bash on the pre-evolution, which is again like a 70 base power move, so it depends which one you want to use. Technically, like, this one will do more damage than using Heavy Bash twice in 2 turns. Clay Slap is again what Concreton gets, which also is the pre-evolution. It's a 60 base power melee move, also lowers the speed as well. So it's kind of like Mudspell, but for a little bit higher, and it is a melee move, so hey, you can definitely use this one. Going to be pretty damn good on it as well if you don't want to run Earthquake. But right now, it's mostly going to be like Earthquake, Heavy Bash or Complete Demolition. You have Power Focus, so I mean that's decent. And then you have things like Scapegoat, Quicksand. Right now, again, not really going to get access to a lot of moves, because like I said, I don't want to give it every new loom, like every single move it can ever use already. Also, I want to like save some of the moves for like the next updates and stuff, like Mega Chomp, for example. Eventually, we'll get like all of those biting moves as well, potentially, or at least a couple of them. We'll see. So yeah, not really too much to talk about Tyrecks, but it's going to be pretty cool to see. I mean, the design is awesome on it. But anyway, next up is the Roamer. Okay then, and finally is going to be the Roamer Protogon. I can never say that, to be honest. But yeah, also completely badass Loomian. Love the design on it. Still like my boy Stratosaur over here low. But anyways, for stats then, as you can tell, it's extremely quick. It's actually quicker than Zulong. Zulong, I think, is 119. This is 121, so it's outspeed Zulong. It's kind of like similar to like Zulong, actually, like looking at the stats. Like, it can hit, it's really quick. It can hit like pretty decent as well. The melee attack sucks worse than Zulong's, but also the defenses are higher, although the health is really low, and also a lot of energy, so you don't have to really worry about energy really at all. Okay, so I guess we'll go over the abilities first, since it only has 2. Analyze, as you can see, identifies whether the opponent's melee or ranged defenses are weaker, and they'll boost your own attack respectively. So let's say, for example, you're against a Himber. Himber has way higher melee defense than range defense, so your range attack's gonna get boosted. If you're going against a Gastroke, it's the other way around. Range defense is the highest, and then melee defense is like really low, so then your melee attack's gonna get boosted. It doesn't take into consideration base stats, it takes into consideration like the final stats, so if you have like a very brawny on, very robust on Gastroke, and like you lower the range defense as low as possible, the melee defense might go above the range defense. So I mean, it depends like on the final stat, not the base stats. So yeah, so it's kind of like a download from Pokemon, obviously. So also then, as you can tell, the melee defense or the melee attack isn't the highest or the greatest, so it's not really going to want to run a melee one. It's going to want to come in on things like Obsidian and stuff like that to make sure it can get that range attack boost, which then it's also going to deal massive damage. For the other ability, the secret ability, is called Replicate. It's kind of like Trace, where, oh, the opponent has Frail Armor, for example, for against this one. It'll basically just copy it, that's basically it. So it can get a hold of another ability, so I feel like Analyze might be like the preferred ability. You don't really need this secret ability, to be honest, if you don't really want it, but there could be like some fun memes, I guess, like copy someone's ability and use it against them. So like, for example, you could steal Raging Flame or Raging Fire from Ikazune. Now you lose your fire type weakness. You could steal the rechargeable one, which will also not weak to electric anymore. So a few options you could also do with it. For the Munchweel, it gets like, it doesn't get access to any rally moves or any like MMs. It's mostly just level up moves, so I don't know exactly how great it's going to be right now. It's going to definitely do like a lot of work, but there's going to be some looms that can actually deal with it. So also, the signature move is actually going to be Dart Burst. It fires 2 to 3 darts at the opponent, and it may leave them dazed, so it can hit either for 70 or 105 damage. A very strong move. Probably actually want to increase the energy, to be honest, because it seems really strong, but also 98 accuracy, and it might leave them dazed. I probably should increase the energy. It seems really good, to be honest, thinking about it now. That's like the signature move. It does get access to Metal Blast, so also this can hit lower than Metal Blast, or could hit higher than Metal Blast. Also, it could miss, so it depends which one you want to use, Dart Burst or Metal Blast. You could actually run both of it on its arsenal, I guess, right now, since it doesn't get as lot of different moves. Ancient Instinct, it has two options. It can raise your speed by 2 stages, or your melee attack by 2 stages. So you probably don't really want to run it right now. Probably not really worth it. Like I said, I guess it'll be decent if you want to run like a mix set. Like, oh, my Analyze gave me a melee attack boost. Well, I can Ancient Instinct and hopefully get a melee attack boost, and then I can hit super hard on my melee side. So, but probably not really want to run that one. Then we have Energy Surge, which is this one. We originally was going to think of an electric type move for it, but we ended up making that move light instead. Which also radiates a huge wave of energy that damages the opponent. So if you're in 2v2s, for example, doubles, it will hit both of the opponents, and your ally will actually not get hit. Well, it will get hit, but it won't take damage. Instead, it will give it more energy. It will refill its energy. So it's actually a really good support move for like 2v2s. So if you have like 2 of these Protogons, they can just keep spamming Energy Surge, and you'll never run out of energy, basically. Which, I mean, isn't really a problem since it has a huge energy to anywhere. So yeah, but pretty good move. Like I said, Metal Blasts, Dart Burst, Energy Surge. It has Power Siphon, which is, again, like, it's kind of similar to Vesperatu's Blood Drain, although it works for energy rather than health. So, I'm not sure if Protogon's really going to run that one really too much. Other than that, that's kind of the only moves it really gets right now. Metal Blast, Energy Surge, Dart Burst, Power Siphon, Dodge, Ancient Instinct. It doesn't really get access to like that many moves, but I think it's still going to be really, really good, since also it can hit really, really hard still. Also, there's a few Looms that can like completely stop it, like Chartika. It can't hit it with a light type move. The electric move, if it had any, would be resisted, and also the metal type moves are resisted because it's a fire type. So there is something that can completely like counter it right now, but right now, not exactly like the best in terms of moves. It will eventually get more moves, also making it good. But again, as you can tell, the first roamer that isn't a mixed attacker, since Dusket is a mixed attacker, Ikazune, I mean, kind of also is a mixed attacker. We kind of have a roamer that isn't a mixed attacker, although I guess if you really, really want to try, you could run it as a mixed attacker, but I mean, it's mostly going to be as a range attacker. So yeah, but also, right now, limited on moves, but eventually we'll get more moves. So hopefully you guys enjoyed. Like I said, this took a long time to record, and it's probably a really long video. I apologize for that, but also I wanted to go to in-depth a little bit on them. But also, you can also figure out this all yourself, and also choose what moves that you want to run on it, or what abilities you want to run on it. So feel free to go and do your own research on them. But anyway, that is all of the final evolutions. And like I said, I might do like videos later on like the pre-evolutions with like the new like Eviolite item, which also that'll be kind of funny, like use on Propay and Pyramids. But if there's any other Loomians, I'll try and use it on those as well. But anyway, leave off here. See you guys next time.